completely flipped over the last few weeks. The Eagles had a 91% chance to win the division following Week 12. And as recently as 2 weeks ago, they had an 81% chance to take the NFC East. But after Philly's home loss to the Cards, the Cowboys were up to 81% after Week 17. The Eagles talked about the mess they're in earlier this week.
That may be things that Nick probably want to fix about himself, and I'll say, but the one thing I can't respect, loyalty is not one of them. And I say that because he takes up for us when it has nothing to do with him.
That was nice of AJ to say that. He didn't have to say that. When I say blame me for that, I truly believe that if a player's not playing to the best of his ability, that's on me.
But we right there. We right there. Despite everything, despite everybody saying this and saying that, like, we right there. And we know we are. And that's the only thing that matters, that we know.
A lot to figure out today for these Eagles. When we have questions, we go to Sal Powell for answers, who looks exactly how he should look this time of year. Sal, at MetLife Stadium, I love it. How's it going? What's going on?
Well, this snow just came right out of nowhere, so you can throw the entire forecast out for this football game now. We had no idea the snow was coming in, but it is snowing here at MetLife Stadium. Earlier in the week, Sam, on Wednesday, in the auditorium at the NovaCare facility, in his weekly team meeting, Nick Sirianni put a graphic up on the screen to show all of the teams that were under 500 in the Super Bowl era in the month of December and then go on to win the Super Bowl, including the 67 Packers, the 97 Broncos, Peyton Manning's 2006 Indianapolis Colts, and the Baltimore Ravens in 2012, which they were 1-4 in the month of December, just like the Philadelphia Eagles. Players said that they were inspired by that it infused the team with energy and togetherness in practice. They had a lot of snap, crackle, and prop in practice this week. And Jordan Mailata said, you know what, we're back to playing Eagles football. Darius Slay, who's not playing in this game, said, we've got a lot of good leadership on this team to get the job done. And Lane Johnson said on John Clark's podcast, Takeoff, this week, very popular in the city of Philadelphia, and he said something really, really interesting. He said, you know what, it's put up or shut up time, and I like the disturbance that it's caused in there, meaning the locker room, and I hope that it will lead to the better versions of ourselves. Sam?
Yeah, Sal, you want to see some life. I mean, Sal brought up the word energy, and that's what I think of, too, when I think about what this Eagles team needs. They almost have seemed cavalier, if you will, and not meaning they don't care, but just the way they're going about their business right now. Rex, when you prioritize the problems that the Eagles have today, where do you start?
Hey, that's a good question because, Sam, I think they got problems on both sides of the ball. You know, their defense is an obvious one. I mean, they're 29th in the league in total points given up. And they've been atrocious all season. So that's obviously probably the starting point. But their offense, I look at this offense, and to me, Alex, you know, Randy, guys, I see an offense that they don't do anything. They don't challenge the defense. And what I mean, look, there's no motion. They use less motion than any offense in the National Football League. All right, they give more 2-by-2 formations than anybody. You know, hey, what a surprise. Oh, they're in 2-by-2 again. And if you're sitting back there watching this thing and you're on defense and Don Martindale over here, man, you only see 2 protections. Like, Wink, you ought to dial this thing up and, I mean, absolutely get after them. But I'm seeing this over and over and over. No motion, 2-by-2. Oh, here it is. What a surprise. 2-by-2 again. I mean, without the tush push, that's the only thing they do. That's really that I'm laying my hat on. Yeah. And so to me, it's like, if I'm a defensive coach going up against this team, thank you. You do me such a favor by sitting back, no challenge. You're not challenging me with motion, anything else. Man, I can't wait to play you. And that shouldn't be. With the talent that they have, especially on the outside with those 2 receivers, you got a great quarterback, an awesome offensive line. They miss Shane Steichen. I mean, I flat out, I'm telling you, they missed that offensive coordinator from last year because this offense doesn't look the same either.
And you can almost, I mean, okay, new coordinators on both sides of the ball to start the year offensively. You see how good these players are. They were doing what got them there for the first 10 weeks. And I think they were 10-1 to start the year. It was a great start. But then the test of the coordinators is then November, December, when you have to adjust to what now people see what you're doing, and now I'm going to adjust to that. So then there's another layer that I think Steichen had. Okay, so that's not there. So they're stagnant with those 2-by-2 formations. I think the two problems, Rex, if I could point to them, is the pass rush and almost like the leadership, because the pass rush has to be their strength. All right. Defensively, especially, because it's so hard. You go from Sean Desai and then Matt Patricia, and no matter what they are in terms of coaches, as a defense, having to adjust to that. So what's your strength? Your strength is a pass rush, and it's been their weakness. They've got the third fewest sacks in the league since week 11. They're not getting after the passer, so that has to change. And also, the whole thing about the leadership that's been talked about in Philadelphia, like, So Jalen Hurts has been able to sort of ride under the radar in terms of the leadership aspect of it, because you got that core four of Brandon Graham and Lane Johnson and Fletch, all those guys, and Kelsey. It's like those guys, those are my leaders. Those guys are getting old, okay? They're getting old and they're on their way out. Okay, they're closer to the end than they are the beginning. That's a nice way of putting it, okay? But eventually, Jalen's got to be the guy. And if your voice is A.J. Brown, that voice is very volatile at times. I think Jalen eventually has to step up and be the leader of this team as it progresses forward.
To me, it's about this defense. I mean, listen, they put up 31 points last week and lost, right? I mean, this is a defense that almost broke the sack record last year.
7 of those were defense, right?
It's not the same this year. I mean, this is the 7th best scoring offense in the NFL. They've had to carry the load, whereas last year this team was dominant. And to your point, Rex, you always talked about knockout. This team had the knockout punch the last 2 years. The last 2 weeks, they've been up at halftime, double-digit scores, and almost lost both of them, right? This is a different team. I think it would be crazy to say that losing both coordinators, obviously there's a bit of a reset there and an adjustment. This is a weird game right now, right? Like, you're playing your starters, you're keeping your eye on what's going on with Dallas, because if they get up, you're yanking your guys to make a playoff run. And you're very likely maybe going back down to Tampa Bay, where you already won this year. And you got a veteran team, and can you get it together and get momentum to make a run? I love that piece on Nick Sirianni kind of pointing out the teams that have done that before. Like, it's not unprecedented.
Yes. What happened with those teams? That's strange. Those teams, they flip the switch.
Yep.
Do they have the leadership and the togetherness in there to flip that switch, and all of a sudden it's like you're playing good football out of nowhere based on what we've all seen, right? Moss, based on what we've seen, this isn't a team that can do that.
Well, when you are representing the NFC conference, that's what it means to be the hunted. In the past, they had that mask on with the underdog mentality. With things that's going on in Philly, don't make Jason Kelsey put that mask back on in Philadelphia with that underdog mentality. But if there's something really sticking out to me within this offense, is the production of Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. You could talk about the defense a couple of weeks ago, giving up the game winner to the Seattle Seahawks. But when you look at them breaking an NFL record, 6 straight games, 125 yards. Do you know how hard that is to guard, Rex? You're a defensive coordinator. So for me, going forward for the Philadelphia Eagles, if they have the underdog mentality or not, it's going to start with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith is out today, so a couple of his targets will go to A.J. Brown's way. But if anybody's going to turn this around, forget the talking. Let's go out here and play some football. You set a record early in the season. That's their bread and butter. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. If they don't get that started, Sam, it'll be a long day for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I mean, guys, we barely even mentioned the Giants. There's just this assumption like, oh, it's the Giants. They just lost to the Cardinals at home in Philly. Like, this is a major concern for these Eagles to show a little life, get some extra energy that we haven't seen these last few weeks. Obviously, today, a big day to get right for the Eagles. Time now to get back to Adam Schefter for the latest on who's in and who's out today.
Well, Sam, some big active and inactive news, and we'll start with the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who officially is active and will start today. Good news for them today, as they'll have their quarterback back today in Jacksonville as they try to win the division. He is active despite the right shoulder and left finger injury. Let's take a look at some of the other ones. Baker Mayfield, as we expected, is active. How about this little surprise in Atlanta? Taylor Heineke is inactive as the Falcons try to make the playoffs, meaning Desmond Ridder will wind up starting today for the Falcons at quarterback. The Saints, who need to win, will not have the services of their best offensive player. Alvin Kamara is inactive today for New Orleans, and some wide receiver question marks later.
Hello, xin chào quý khán giả đến với kênh Minh Thái Gaming. Hôm nay mình sẽ bắt đầu series đại chiến người quen anh em. Bắt đầu series game đại chiến người quen. Anh em nếu thấy hay xin ủng hộ cho Thái một like, share, subscribe, ủng hộ kênh anh em.